Father was never a kind man. Not to me, not to Mom, not to waiters or cashiers or even dogs. I don't know what happened to make him such an angry person, drowning in drinks, but he'd certainly never told me about it. And yet, for whatever reason, Mom always loved him so much. Too much, if you ask me. I asked her once and she only said, "Katie, one day you'll meet a man you truly love and understand that some of them are harsh but still good people deep down inside. Your father's lost himself, but I promise, he's a good man. He'll never hurt you, not as long as I'm here to protect you, love. He means well." He beat her that night for dropping a dish in the sink and breaking it. Not like he was some kind of china collector, I think the sound just annoyed him and he had been looking for an excuse. Gave me a solid whack for trying to get in front of her after the first few hits, and a few more that night when I'd wandered into the attic and found a little antique music box. It was carved from such a pretty oak, but before I could open it, he found me and screamed, throwing it aside, grabbing me. I often wondered what was in that box, in the years that followed, but never dared to risk it. Still, she defended him. Still, she loved him. I did not. Dad wasn't even in the hospital when she died. I don't know if he didn't care, or if he just didn't even know it was happening, or he was sulking because he can't get satisfaction out of beating a corpse, but it was for the best either way. Lord knows I didn't want him there, for her to see his face at the end. She deserved better than that, and abandoning her was the kindest thing he ever did. The doctors said it was a sudden illness, but I knew better. He'd done something. It had to be his fault. "I'm here," I said, kneeling next to her. Her breaths were quick and short, I could tell it was the end. "I love you so much." She smiled, a faint, wispy thing. "I know, darling. I'm sorry." "Don't be," I choked out through tears. The world had become a blur. "You did nothing wrong." "Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know." She drew a deep, raspy breath as the beeping of her heart monitor increased, and her eyes widened. "Katie, you have to go to the attic. Find the music box. WHY. A weak hand squeezed mine with all the might it could muster. "It will give you the power. Do what I couldn't." That was the last thing she ever said to me. That night, he screamed at me for getting home so late, throwing my phone against the wall and shattering its screen. He'd been drinking, so it was easier to run and hide in my room until he passed out on the floor like he loved so much to do. That was my chance. I crept upstairs, taking time and wincing as some of the floorboards screamed beneath me, pulled down the staircase and climbed, pulling the stairs up behind me. It took a few hours of searching, but I found it, hidden behind a mountain of boxes and random shit stored up from the years, covered in a thick layer of dust. It seemed so much smaller than it had all those years ago, but still bigger than what I'd imagine a music box would be. It was about the size of a shoebox. And it was humming. Not loudly, but deeply, like something ancient sound asleep. I set it down and stared at it for a while. My father had been so adamant, what if he found out? Would I join my mother? Why had she looked so scared, at the end? Heavy with dread, I hesitated, trembling and crying with fresh memories of my final moments with her, until finally fulfilling her wish. Inside was a strange scene. There were no dancers, just an average man and a woman much smaller than him staring at each other. I wound the device, then set it on a box and scrunched up on the ground, wrapping my hoodie around my knees. The saddest sound I've ever heard played, and the girl fell to her knees. I don't know why, but the melody, the dissonance of it, brought me to tears. The girl crumpled, the man towering over her, striking her while down. The tears blurred my vision, and I wiped to keep watching. It was like a movie playing out before me, somehow, like the mechanical little people were alive. The girl rose, the man winding back to strike her once more, but she pulled something blue out of her pocket, a striking cyan that glowed, and pressed it deep into his chest. It was his turn to crumple and wither on the ground like a dying flower. The song ended with a loud click, and I jumped back, dropping the music box. It cracked open like an egg, and from within it spilled a glowing, cyan dagger streaked with black darker than a starless night. It felt warm and heavy in my hands. It felt powerful. Anne. Katie? Where are you? What's that noise? You get down here right this instant, God damn it, a voice called from below. My father's slurred voice. I slipped the dagger into my hoodie pocket and went to answer his calls.